Welcome back to Court TV Live. I'm Matt Johnson in tonight for Michael Ayala. Thanks for being with us. Before we get you back to court there in Georgia, let's take a look at some other of the cases that we're tracking here at Court TV, including these. In Tennessee, a post-trial hearing for Zachary Adams continues tomorrow. He's asking for a new trial after being convicted and sentenced to life without parole for kidnapping, raping, and killing Holly Bobo. Adams claims that one of his co-defendants recanted his testimony and admitted to making up the whole story about the murder. Adams will testify in his own hearing tomorrow. In the state of Massachusetts, jury selection continues tomorrow in the murder trial for Brian Walsh. He's accused of killing his wife, Anna, whose remains have never been found. In the great state of California, the mother of missing 9-year-old Melody Buzzard was back in court today for a hearing in her false imprisonment case that's not related to her daughter's disappearance. Ashley Buzzard was escorted into court, and both sides told the judge that they're now ready for tomorrow's preliminary hearing. The judge will decide if her case should be bound over for trial. Let's get you back to that Georgia courtroom now, where the case is close to wrapping up against Matthew Lanz in the stranger home invasion murder case. He opted not to have a jury trial, but instead wants the judge to decide his fate. He's accused of shooting Justin and Amber Hicks inside their home back in November 2021. They both died. During his police interrogation video that was played to the court today, he denied having anything to do with the murders. Lanz is also charged with multiple break-ins, and aggravated assault and attempted murder on a police officer. We want to head back into court now, where the lead detective is going to continue his testimony. Let's watch.
Through line item 12, how many phone calls were made from Lanz's family members to him on November 18th of 2021?
It was 10. 10 or 11. 11, I believe.
Now, did you look in Lanz's device to see if he had any sort of GPS or location data that was logged?
I did.
And were you able to find any relevant location data between 7:07 p.m. when we know that the Hicks were alive through 9:45 a.m. on November 18th of 2021 when law enforcement was responding to the homicides?
This mobile device did not record any location data after 11:17, a little bit after noon, from my recollection.
On what day?
November 17th, 2021.
Nothing after November 17th, 2021? Around
I think it was, I don't recall, but it was in the 12 o'clock hour. After that point, there was no location data ever recorded on the device.
Okay. Now, did you also obtain his AT&T records?
I did.
Right. And what was the primary purpose at that point in time in obtaining AT&T records?
Tower location data.
Were you able to determine whether there was any cell tower data originating from phone calls during the relevant time period?
He had no incoming or outgoing phone calls or text messages that recorded tower locations during that time.
And so because there's a lack of phone calls, did that result in a lack of towers generated from phone calls?
Correct. You would need to either receive an incoming call or place an outgoing call. Same thing with text messages in order to record a tower location record. And in this case, there were none during that time.
Next, Your Honor, the state moves to tender State's Exhibit 916 into evidence, which is a business record certificate from Google for the Google records concerning Matthew Lanz 13 at gmail.com, as well as State's 917, which is an activity search history report contained and covered by the Google business record certificate.
Any objection?
Your Honor, we've talked about that particular exhibit. I think the state has picked out maybe 8 or 9 of those to read into the court. The remainder of those can be put into the record, but not to go to Your Honor.
Okay.
That's correct, Your Honor.
Right. So states 916 and 917 are admitted with the limited limitations on the emails that will be presented to the court.
Searches. But yes, searches.
Searches, sorry.
That's okay. All right. So, and may I publish the
Yes.
one we've discussed? Okay, very good. States Exhibit 917 here. Let's see, what sort of Google search did you see on November 16th of 2021?
I was searching facts about blood. It was a Johns Hopkins website.
And what other search was looked at on November 16th of 2021?
Catholicism and the 10 Commandments for Dummies.
Was there a reference to the 10 Commandments during your interview with Mr. Lanz?
Yes, that was a reference made by Detective Jackson during the interview.
Looking at October 9th here, what sort of searches were seen on October 9th?
That's the 29th, I think, we're looking at. Ballistic calculators for long-range shooting.
Looking next at, I guess, earlier in the day or evening or early morning hours of October 29th of 2021, what other search do you see?
What would getting shot by 308 be like?
And
Do heads really explode as portrayed in Pulp Fiction?
looking at October 20th of 2021, what sort of Google search do you see?
OZ9 combat pistol, black slide and barrel with Trijicon RM06 optic.
And how long after the purchase of his ZevTech 09 OZ9 was this search made?
Not even 2 weeks.
And what else do you see on, well, October 17th of 2021?
That says 22 mag velocity. And then it continues on. There's another search for Zev OZ9 pistol.
Then also on October 15th of 2021, what do we see here?
Another search for Zev OZ9. This is for reference of barrel length in inches.
And below that,
Search for Glock 19 barrel length inches.
October 15th.
Zev pistols, a couple different models there. I think that's like the main website.
You see another Zev 09?
Yes.
C9?
Yes, actually, I've visited the website.
And this was how many days after the official purchase where he then possessed the Zev OZ9?
2 days.
Then looking at October 12th of 2021, what sort of searches were done on October 12th of 2021?
Total number of fatalities in the United States, 2018.
And also,
Mortality in the United States, 2019. CDC. This is a visited website, Fast Stats. It's death and mortality.
when was this in relation to the purchase of the Zev OZ9?
The day before.
Very briefly, did you obtain other records through the course of your investigation?
Yes.
Did that include things like Instagram records,
Yes, I did.
UGA records?
Yes, student records.
Did you speak to some classmates?
Yes.
Did you obtain some flock images as we've discussed previously?
Yes, I did.
Did you also extract some computer or hardware devices from the defendant?
I did.
Did you speak to neighbors in the surrounding area?
Yes, we did.
With regard to any of that material, were you able to glean at anything that was relevant to this double homicide?
No.
Did you ever find a link between Amber and or Justin Hicks and the defendant Matthew Lanz?
Not a personal link, only to the residence.
And when you say the link to the residence, was that really with Matthew Lanz or his brother?
His brother.
And I know we've talked a lot about Matthew Lanz. Is he in the courtroom?
Yes.
Can you please point him out for the court?
Yes, he's the gentleman sitting at the defense table wearing a green jumpsuit.
Let the record reflect that he has identified the defendant in this case. Nonetheless,
Just the record will still reflect.
thank you.
Hitting the pause button there in the state of Georgia for this update out of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, where the people named in Karen Reed's civil lawsuit are speaking out. Earlier this year, Karen Reed was acquitted of murder and manslaughter in the 2022 death of her Boston police officer boyfriend, Officer John O'Keefe. Yesterday, Reed's defense team filed a scathing lawsuit accusing investigators and some partygoers inside 34 Fairview of conspiring to frame her for murder. Now the attorney for the McCabe's and the Alberts have responded, saying this, quote, in part, the allegations made by Karen Reed are entirely false, defamatory, and without merit. Our clients categorically deny each and every claim. This lawsuit is nothing more than a continuation of baseless conspiracy narrative that has caused significant harm to the reputations and lives of innocent people. In the lawsuit, Reed claims O'Keefe was killed inside the home at 34 Fairview. Then the people at the home staged his death to look like a hit-and-run pedestrian accident. No trial date has been set in that civil case. We will, of course, keep you posted. Let's do this. Let's take a break right now. When we return, more testimony out of the state of Georgia in the stranger home invasion murder case playing out there. The lead detective still on the stand testifying about evidence found linking him to the killings. And new details into the mysterious death of a teenager who was found dead inside her cruise ship cabin. This is Court TV Live. Don't go anywhere. Your front row seat to justice.
Tonight on Closing Arguments, will the man convicted of kidnapping and murdering Holly Bobo get a new trial? We're unpacking key arguments from today's huge hearing.
Closing Arguments, tonight at 8/7 Central, only on Court TV.
My goal is to make sure that you remember me for the rest of your life.
You kill a man for acting like a junkie when you the one turned him into a junkie.
Interview with a Killer, season finale, Saturday night at 8 Eastern and Pacific, only on Court TV.
Welcome back to Court TV Live. I'm Matt Johnson. Thanks for being with us. Before we head back to court for more testimony, let's bring in my guest for this hour here to discuss. We have criminal defense attorney, friend of the program, Silva Megerdician. Nice to see you, Silva. Your thoughts on this case? So it's a bench trial. It's been something like 3 days of intense testimony, a lot of evidence that the state of Georgia put forth. How do you feel about it so far? Where are we?
Well, first of all, Matt, my good friend, it is always an honor to be with you, and thank you so much for having me. Look, Matt, this is the tragedy of tragedies. It's the nightmare situation. On one end, as a defense attorney, you have a man obviously who's very sick, who has schizophrenia. On the other hand, you have a husband and a wife celebrating a house in love, a beautiful 2-year-old, who are literally the most innocent victims, just shot in their house for absolutely no reason. I think the prosecutors in this bench trial, they're doing what they need to do. There's no theatrics, dry testimony, showing that, through these Google searches, which I thought was really great testimony for the prosecution, the fascination with death, the fascination with, gunshot wounds, deaths in the United States. It not only shows, a psychotic break, but it more so shows an obsession almost with death and killings and how dangerous this young man was. Matt, let's also not forget his brother was also a schizophrenic who also got major in trouble in the law, was shot after he got into a tussle with a Pentagon police officer. This family's they've gone through a lot with these 2 young men, and this is just the tragedy of tragedies. And it's representative, Matt, of so many cases that we grapple with as defense attorneys, where our clients are literally not in their right mind. They haven't had treatment, they haven't had proper therapy, and literally it's like an explosion where they do the most heinous acts. And look, he's actually blaming a government agency for an act that he actually Google searched. I mean, it's just a tragedy on every level.
Yeah, and it's really interesting that you brought up the brother, the scuffle with the Pentagon employee, because that's also a government agency. So, I hadn't thought about that before. But I hope that the attorneys on both sides are taking notes of what you just said, because I think that you helped write their closing arguments on both sides. We do have to get back into court right now. You're going to be sticking with us all hour long. Let's head back to that courtroom where the lead detective is still on the stand. He's testifying about the evidence that linked this defendant to the murders.
Specific connection between this defendant and Amber and or Justin Hicks. What evidence linked Matthew Lanz to these homicides?
Well, we know from video evidence and his own statements that he was in the area during the time frame these crimes occurred. Not just in the area, but within a very, very, very close proximity by his own admission. We also know that his vehicle had left the neighborhood approximately 1 minute after the last known rear porch light had gone off, and we see movement running from the backyard. So the car was seen leaving within the right time frame of when we have identified that the crime occurred. The defendant then puts his phone in airplane mode and goes back to Athens. At which point his parents recover a pistol from his person the next day, less than 24 hours after the crime occurred. The weapon was in his possession. He was reluctant on giving the weapon to his mother and subsequently gave it to his father, at which point was collected, brought back to his parents' house. That weapon and ultimately ballistically matched shell casings that we had recovered from the crime scene. That ammunition contained from that pistol, as far as the pistol magazines belonging to that gun, did match the same type of ammunition that was recovered from the crime scene. Not only was the weapon ballistically matched to the shell casings, but the defendant's DNA was recovered from the pistol grip of that weapon, which he then had actually purchased in Athens a little over a month before this murder happened.
Given the very narrow time frame you were able to establish as to when these murders occurred, what was that small window again?
It was 9:59 p.m. and 40 seconds to approximately 10:10 p.m.
And when was it that Jacob Hicks actually left that home? Or was taken out of the home?
So around 9:45, 9:50. I don't recall the exact time he exited the house.
Which is roughly how long that 2-year-old Jacob was inside the home with his dead parents?
Just shy of 12 hours.
Did you lay eyes on Jacob that day?
I did see him when I first arrived.
What did his PJs look like?
They were covered in blood.
Oh, yeah.
Great. Attorney Barry, you may proceed with your cross.
Good afternoon, Detective.
Good afternoon, sir.
Let's talk a little bit about the residence when you first arrived. You basically went around the scene and looked at what you thought may have happened. You saw glass that was broken to the interior of the home, correct?
Yes,
Somebody knocked the glass out from outside you.
correct.
There was glass on the exterior of the home as well.
There was, yes, sir.
And when you came in, there was a white gate that had been pushed forward rather than backward, pushed away from the living room and so pushed
Correct.
into the.
That's correct.
That correct?
Yes, sir.
And you found out that there was a dog that was barking a lot when the officers first arrived. Did you have an occasion to see that dog?
I think they had corralled the dog. I think it might have been in a car by the time I arrived, but I have seen that dog on the body cam. So
Now, after observing these things, did you want to find out what lights may have been on the interior of the home or the exterior of the home around 10 o'clock?
from the interior of the home, I know what light was on or off when we arrived to the home. Yeah.
Was the light on in the playroom where the Christmas tree was?
When we arrived, I don't recall that being on. I know the living room light was off at the time.
Christmas light,
Correct. They were.
light, living room area other than TV.
Not when I arrived there, no.
You know whether anyone had turned any of the lights on or off before you got there?
No, I do not. Well, I watched the body cam of the first responding officer, and they were still off. From my recollection, when I was there, they were still off.
And you observed that there were a number of motion sensor lights that were placed around the home.
On the exterior, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Were there motion sensor lights close to where the delivery box was found on the side of the home?
Just off the corner, so you would actually have to kind of round and go past that front door, and then there was one right on the edge of the home on the corner.
Okay. Was there a group of sensor lights past that, close to where the window had been broken in?
Yes, there's an additional set closer to the window near that patio area.
Okay. Would the sensor lights close to the delivery box, would they come on at the same time that the other set of lights close to the little patio where the broken glass were, or would they be independent?
I do not know that question. I'm not sure if they're independent or if they would trigger on in unison.
Okay. When these lights would be triggered on, do you know what length of time they would stay on before they went off?
We'll get you back to that Georgia courtroom shortly, but first this. In Florida, we are learning new details about the mysterious death of a high school cheerleader on a cruise ship. 18-year-old Anna Kepner was reportedly found dead, wrapped in a blanket and stuffed under her bed earlier this month. And according to an unrelated court filing, one of her step-siblings could soon be charged in the case. Chantel Hudson, Kepner's stepmother, requested a delay in a custody hearing that she had scheduled with her previous husband because of, quote, extreme, sensitive, and severe circumstances. The filing, it goes on to say that Hudson has been advised through discussions with FBI investigators and her attorneys that the criminal case may be initiated against one of her minor children. Well, we know the 18-year-old victim traveled with her father, her stepmother, and step-siblings, but details surrounding her death have not been released pending the FBI investigation, which is ongoing. A memorial service for the victim for Kepner is scheduled for Thursday. We'll keep you posted. Coming up, more testimony from the lead detective in the stranger home invasion case playing out here on Court TV Live. Welcome back to Court TV Live. I'm Matt Johnson, in today for Michael Ayala. Let's head back to the state of Georgia for day 3 of testimony in the stranger home invasion murder case against Matthew Lanz. Earlier today, the state rested its case in chief, and soon a judge will decide if he's guilty or not in this bench trial of killing a couple in their home and then stabbing a police officer. Let's get you back into court now, where the lead detective is still on cross-examination.
Don't recall the length of time.
And if you say, for instance, that someone came up on the porch and the lights came on, and they're motion sensor lights, right?
Are you talking about the front porch now?
Back porch there where the glass is broken.
Yes.
Okay. You entered that area, they're motion sensor lights, so they would naturally come on, right?
If you were captured by the motion sensor, yes. I would assume that the lights would come on. I did see them. Yes.
That Detective Smith, he showed you where the motion sensor lights had come on in the back during certain time periods, which you testified to a few minutes ago at 9:31, 9:55, and 10:05.
Yes, I've watched that video. Yes, sir.
So the motion sensor lights, then, if you came within the range, they're going to come on.
Yes.
Okay. Do you know what range that would be? 10 feet, 12 feet?
I do not know. I did not test them when I was there on the initial scene. No, not any information was relayed back to me if there was. So I don't have any knowledge.
That patio, and I break that window out, that motion sensor light would come on because I'm having activity on that porch.
Either that or from when you approach the patio.
Okay. So once you approach the patio, if I then break the window and go inside and they go off, they would have to come back on when I exited through that window, right?
Yes.
Okay. Or I'd have to exit some other place.
Yes, or you'd have to exit some other place.
So the motion sensor lights did not come on again after 10:08, correct?
That's correct.
And the motion sensor lights came on at 9:55, correct? According to your testimony.
Yeah, that is correct.
Okay, so they're on, but the time that they're on, Ms. Hicks is on, apparently on her telephone with a group text and text at 9:59. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. The sensor lights did not come on between 9:59 and 10:10, right?
I don't recall any other lights being activated in the rear at that point.
We're talking about searching the vehicle. You went to Sandy Springs to look at the vehicle. Did you ultimately bring it back to Cobb?
So it went, once Sandy Springs was finished with their search warrant, it went to ATO towing, which is, I guess, their the company they contract with. I then got a search warrant, retrieved it from towing, and then it was transported back to Cub.
Now, in the vehicle, did you actually search it yourself or someone else?
I was there.
Okay. Did you find any glass shards in the floorboard of that vehicle?
I did not.
Were there any clothing items other than the backpack in the car?
Clothing items other than the backpack. There was some underwear and socks. And if you consider a poncho maybe a clothing item, but I remember. I think there's some shoes in the trunk. Golf shoes.
And I think you indicated that there was a flashlight in the glove box.
Correct. That was located during the Sandy Springs search.
Do you know how old that flashlight was?
I do not know how old that flashlight is.
Don't know if the flashlight had been used or for what purpose.
No, sir.
And then you have speculation, but you don't know for sure that the flashlight was ever used to knock any windows.
No, I cannot confirm if it was used to knock any windows out. I just saw that it had the ability to.
Just had scratches.
On that end cap that I described, that was pointed, yes, sir.
Did you find in the car Mr. Lanz's wallet?
No, we found. I don't recall if we found his wallet in there.
Do you know whether he had a wallet at the time he was arrested?
If there was, it was not given to me at any point that I recall.
You don't know what may have happened to his wallet?
I don't recall what happened to his wallet.
Was there a wallet found in Athens when you did the search there?
We found his driver's license in Athens. I just don't recall a wallet.
Okay. So are there a number of service stations between Athens and where the car was ultimately found?
I would imagine so, yes, sir.
Okay. But you don't know whether he had a wallet with him or any money because none was ever given to you?
I don't recall any wallet. I definitely don't recall any currency. If Sandy Springs or the GBI collected a wallet with currency, it was never provided to me.
All right, we're going to pause the testimony right there. The defense attorney continues to question the lead detective about what was and perhaps what was not executed during the investigation. That's on the other side of this break. We'll be right back.
Tonight on Closing Arguments, will the man convicted of kidnapping and murdering Holly Bobo get a new trial? We're unpacking key arguments from today's huge hearing.
Closing Arguments, tonight at 8/7 Central, only on Court TV.
The disappearance of Anna Walsh.
Her husband now charged with her murder.
All eyes on this accused killer.
The disappearance of Anna Walsh murder trial. Live coverage begins December 1st on Court TV.
Welcome back to Court TV. Let's get you back to court in Georgia for the rest of the lead detective's testimony. He's still on cross-examination.
Told us that on the video interview that you took with him, you mentioned a number of times seeing lights, demonic lights at that home. Did you ask him whether it could have been Christmas tree lights?
So there were kind of several conversations about lights and who it was pertaining to and how they were described. So if there's a specific moment, might be easier for me to answer that for you, because lights were mentioned on several different conversations about different people. And
I assume that you knew that his brother had been killed in Washington by an agent.
I did learn that, yes, sir.
Did you ask him any questions about that?
He was a little sensitive about talking about that particular. We did talk some about his brother, but not so much about how he passed.
Talking about the clothing that you received from Sandy Springs, you mentioned the North Face, the gray North Face. I think you see that in one of the photographs. Did you ask him if that was the one that he was wearing the night before?
So when I asked him in the interview, I made a statement that you were wearing the same hoodie as you're wearing today as you wore during the time frame of the murder. His response was, no, that's my North Face one. So when we recovered a North Face one later on in his apartment, we took photos of both of them, from the one collected from the Sandy Springs incident and the one found in his apartment.
Gray hoodie, is it a North Face?
Yes, it was. Yeah.
Hat and not a hoodie.
It's a zip-up jacket.
Okay. And when he entered the home there in Sandy Springs, he had on another piece of clothing over that hoodie.
It is some kind of camouflage jacket, some type.
So the gray hoodie would have been under another piece of clothing.
It was. I didn't know about the gray hoodie being worn at that time until they cut it off of him and told me that they recovered it.
Okay. Now, when you were talking about the doing the GSR test, sometimes you don't do it on clothing because it gets washed or can be rubbed off. And in this particular situation, one of the officers came in contact with him, but that was a secondary piece of clothing, not the outer piece of clothing, correct?
And which, I mean, they cut a lot of clothes off of him and handcuffed him. So, I mean, there'd be transference easily all over his body.
That if they were touching him all over, they were touching the outer clothing, not the inner clothing.
Well, the covering was like a mesh camouflaged poncho looking thing that he was wearing. I don't think that would completely block any GSR from getting in anywhere else on his clothing.
Okay. Now, you told us you don't use the GSR that much, but it's a tool that police officers use. A tool just like DNA or any other tool that you use in an investigation, correct?
It can provide an investigative lead, yes, sir.
Sure. Kind of like playing the lottery. If you don't do it, you're not going to get a result, right?
Well, in this case, I wouldn't have been able to tell you if the GSR recovered from his incident in Sandy Springs came from Sandy Springs or it came from this homicide. No, I would not be able to tell you one way or another.
But if you did it, you got a positive result, that would just be another piece of evidence that you might use.
At that point, I couldn't validate that piece of evidence because it had now been tainted because he'd been shot twice.
Bottom line is you didn't do it.
No, we did not do that.
You didn't find any spent cartridges in Athens, did you?
No, sir.
Talk about the shoes that you collected. Did you collect any shoes from Athens?
We didn't collect any. Looked at them, but ended up collecting any.
Did you ask him if these tennis shoes we saw pictures of had a little shard of glass on them? Did you ask him if those were the shoes that he wore the night before?
Did not see those shoes until after I interviewed him. So no, I did not mention it in my interview with him.
Okay. So you don't know whether those were the shoes that he was wearing?
I cannot confirm that, no.
Now, where he left the vehicle was a good, what, mile and a half or 2 miles to where he was ultimately arrested.
Approximate, depending on the route you would take to get to that area.
And do you know whether he walked up the road or walked through the woods, or how he was able to get from his car to the residence that he left?
My understanding, I was not the investigator on that particular case. My understanding, he cut through some woods at some point to get to the neighborhood. The exact route, I couldn't tell you. I was not the lead investigator on that.
Okay.
And that's how testimony ended for the day. After the lead detective's testimony wrapped up, the state rested its case in chief. Tomorrow, big day here at Court TV. We are going to learn whether or not this defendant will take the stand. Here to discuss, criminal defense attorney Silva. What's your guess? What do you think?
No way, Matt. I mean, look, we've seen, again, mentally ill clients want to testify. I don't think this client is going to testify. I think the defense is going to put up, if anything, mental health experts to testify about his state of mind at the time of the killings. But yeah, you can tell, anyone who's watching this, his head has been down so much during testimony. It's just, it's just obvious. He may have competency, but he's not an active participant in his trial. At least that's what it looks like. We also saw the way he talked to the police officers, that he was having conversations with God and how disturbing that testimony was. I don't see it at all. And the defense really doesn't need it. It can only hurt them. Only hurt them.
I agree with you. And, his decorum in the courtroom, he's been looking down, unengaged, not helping or assisting in his own defense. And then at times being admonished because he was mumbling things that were incoherent during testimony. But to your point, maybe we do see a defense case, right? It's not their burden, but maybe they do call someone. And you already mentioned mental health evaluators, perhaps. Maybe they're going to help with the defense case. Maybe we hear from mom and dad, because we also saw their video that was played in court. So they're not going to be a mitigating witness on sentencing phase. They could actually be a character witness during the defense case in chief.
Absolutely, Matt. Here's the thing. Bench trials are so difficult because the judge has literally seen everything, right? They were practicing attorneys before. They are judges now. It's not the theatrics of the jury. So these parents also, what keeps on sticking up in my mind, and again, these parents are victims too, but they had 2 sons who have such tragedies within them and so much mental health. And what did they do? What did they not do? Did they see the signs? I mean, the way that they spoke to the officers, it was illuminating, but also troubling as well. It's just, again, there are no winners in this case. And I think the defense is doing a very calculated job right now, setting up everything for appeal, doing what they need to do to represent their client in the best way possible for his constitutional rights in their defense. So again, it's going to be really interesting, but the thing about it is he doesn't need to do superfluous stuff when you're going to be arguing your defense case in front of a judge. He just needs to stick to facts, mental health facts, and keep it short and tight. And definitely, I know the defendant has the final say whether he testifies or not, but it can only hurt this case.
Yeah, and to your point, it'd be really interesting when they do that colloquy, because it's only up to the defendant. We all know that, right?
Yes.
This is where he's in the driver's seat. But if he takes the stand, we might see another situation like the case that I covered out of Nevada, where the defendant took the stand, but the attorneys were worried about perjury, so he had to do it in narrative form. So maybe we don't even see a question answer, and that could be interesting. All right, Silva, thank you so much. We have to switch gears now to Pensacola, Florida. A new trial is set to begin tomorrow called the Thanksgiving Eve murder trial. 38-year-old Daryl Walker is accused of shooting and killing his wife, Sheena Levine. This happened back in November 2023. According to police documents, the defendant called their daughter at around 5 a.m. on the day before Thanksgiving. She says her father did not answer her when she asked how her mother was doing, so she woke up her brother, and the two went to the apartment. Once they went inside, she says that she saw their mother on the floor by the bathroom and her father covered in blood on his clothes and his person. Their father then grabbed a gun and told them, quote, he couldn't go back to jail. Walker was arrested 6 days later, and he's facing several charges, including murder and weapons charges. He's facing life behind bars if convicted. Our thanks to Silva for being with us today. Up next, the 3 things that we learned on this busy Wednesday in the cases that we're covering here at Court TV from coast to coast.